Crime of 2 centuries. The obvious case for global and federal legalization of the sacred herb by James Mandolare. The sacred herb is not a drug. It is a gentle herb with a slight psychoactive effect that varies with each person. For some, it is strong and disorienting. For others, it is no more potent than a cup of coffee. For many, it is a daily sacrament to nature and to enjoying life and friendship and love with those closest to us. We have had to be a secretive and paranoid outlaw sect in this country and in this world for a lifetime of whispered code talk and secret alliances and forbidden interactions that could get you in trouble with the law and incarcerated for a harmless and victimless crime of 2 centuries. This is a serious breach of the true function of law to serve and protect the people. By making this beneficial and popular herb illegal, they have created a terrible disconnect between people who do not condone the use of this herb for many reasons, having nothing to do with public health. This disconnect and misinformation about this medicinal sacred herb has created an outcast generation, mistrusted by society and hounded by police. It has caused the older generations to mistrust the younger generations for 50 years. It has caused the people to mistrust the government and police for lying about this sweet herb as a dangerous drug. This evil prohibition is racially biased and used to create mass incarceration and give the police a common excuse to intrude on the lives of innocent and otherwise law-abiding citizens. If public health and morality was the real issue, cigarettes and alcohol would be banned. This is political and economic and industrial, since this herb and cousin hemp can replace so many toxic processes: paper, oil, alcohol, wood production from trees, cotton and unnatural fabrics, all fossil fuels and plastics, and many other time-honored and lucrative building techniques and products can be replaced by herb or hemp. The intrusion of society into the lives of good and peaceful people is most cruelly shown in allowing employers to test the urine of the populace. Is there any more intrusion of an officious and totalitarian state than testing bodily fluids? The President and Congress do not require it, but working class folks are tested for it for many cruel reasons. It is the driver of the class war against those who do not share the capitalist values that drive wealth and equality. The people who enjoy this tasty and inspiring herb are peaceful, loving, and fun people who do not want to work their lives away for a rich man's yacht and mansions and fancy sports car. We are not materialistic, and many of us are mystical, peace-loving, creative folks. We are billions of good and thoughtful people, visionaries, musicians, and artists, mystics, and philosophers from all walks of life that wish to live freely and in a deep devotion to spirit and to nature. We are progressive and independent and a threat to the totalitarian status quo ambitions of gangster capitalism supported by a militant empire. We are the future of this world, living in harmony and balance with nature and dedicated to innocence and childlike wonder. We believe this world is as sacred as the spirit worlds and do not care to count up the sins of others or ourselves. We are not lost in the 60s or perpetual adolescence or naive or spaced out. We are not lazy, but we are also not ambitious or materialistic or vain or foolish. We are passionate, intellectual, creative, tolerant, kind, and devoted. We have been laughed at, accused, discriminated against, locked up, fined, searched, and seizured, busted, hassled, exiled, overlooked, and even hated for our courage to follow our own star and not accept the limitations of the past. We need not cut another tree. Hemp and sacred herb can clean up radiation and be used to make all our plastics that are biodegradable and non-toxic. It needs no pesticides and chemicals and is totally organic. It can be an appropriate and positive recreational herb that can revitalize the nightlife and economy all across the world and bring psychological and physical relief from pain and trauma. It has been proven to help guard against cancer, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, seizures, PTSD, and a host of other ailments. It can finance the government's progressive agenda to fund social programs to lift the poor out of poverty, end mass incarceration, homelessness, and opioid addiction. It can save the future from toxic, world-destroying processes and products we now get from fossil fuels. It is a high-protein food source. It is the blessed 5-rayed herb of understanding and can restore a more accurate and true perception of our place as the humble stewards of Mother Nature and as an eternal orb of pure energy living on many levels of reality. The sacred herb restores our innocence and connection to nature and inspires the genuine and innocent wonder and awe of the world. It is medicinal and spiritual and should be protected by freedom of religion. I strongly believe that this organic herb is an ally of the human race that has been lost to materialistic, militant, existential rationalists and racists and power-mad politicians and businessmen who want to keep poisoning the world with fossil fuels and poisoning our souls and our bodies with alcohol and tobacco. This prohibition is a form of class war and slavery to mass incarcerate black, brown, and peace-loving people created by racists and industrialists in the early 20th century, intensified by the Nixon administration, and condoned and continued under corrupt politicians on both sides of the aisle for 50 years of suffering and needless oppression. It is not a joke or something that can wait any longer. During this terrible health and economic and worldwide crisis, threatening the whole human race, nothing is more important than ending this terrible stigma and decades of lies about this goddess-given, organic, and miraculous herb sent by God to restore us to a more humble, loving, and peaceful world. A world that loves and protects nature and wishes only to be equally shared among joyful, decent, polite, and positive people, serving a genuinely positive and progressive civilization. Legalization of this sacred herb across the world is the essential first step to usher in the 21st century world denied to us all by the international fascist cabal of the hate and war trillionaire gangsters who make money off prisons and war and fossil fuels and alcohol and plastics and cutting down badly needed forests. The corrupt politicians have conspired with the trillionaire gangster cabal of this cutthroat international militant fascism to create this terrible neglect of the people in favor of the big money, and they should all be brought to justice and thrown in prison for crimes against the future of humanity. Let the potheads out to make room.
I am Lunge the Dinosaur, and I approve this message. Thank you. Let us not go extinct.